I was just about to start a live, and then I realized that I didn't plug in my earphones, and then I tried to plug in these, but then I realized that my new phone doesn't have a socket for this. So I'm gonna use this one. I hope you can hear me. Hi guys, how are ya? Welcome. So this is like a totally spontaneous live. Hello, ZM the Queen. Hi. Okay, so this is a totally spontaneous live. I'm just gonna talk about this webinar I attended today, and the topic was everything you want to know about C1 Advanced and C2 Proficiency. It was a panel discussion. It was led by five experts who are actually all either working in Cambridge. I'm not sure if they're working at Cambridge University, but they are working in Cambridge for sure. Yeah, there's one woman who works on the development of the resources, course books, and things like that. And so they were actually all like really established experts. So they gave some tips on how to study for C1 and C2, and they answered some questions by the other teachers. So that was pretty interesting, and I'm gonna just give you some, feedback on what I found interesting and useful for us. So the difference, people asked like what the difference is between C1 and C2. Everyone is curious about that one. Like, what's the difference between C1 and C2? Both are academic levels, and they mentioned a couple of times, that they are academic levels. So what does that mean? So we have basically three levels of language learning, let's say. So there are A levels, B levels, and C levels. A levels are beginner levels, B levels are intermediate levels, and C levels are proficient. Well, the person who is at that level is like a proficient user of the language. So C1 is called advanced on this scale, Cambridge English scale, and C2 is called proficiency. But basically C levels are proficient user levels, and B levels are like intermediate levels, B1 and B2. Okay, so what's the basic difference between C1 and C2? The thing is that, just a second, what's this? Okay, so the thing is that it's what I said and what I knew, basically, is the vocabulary. Vocabulary is number one thing. Okay, so I have the note here, that's why I'm looking down. So vocabulary is number one thing. That's the number one difference between C1 and C2. Nobody mentioned grammar. Grammar is, largely it is the same. There are, the activities in C2, for example, are more complex. So the grammar is the same, but you might need to think harder to see how you will transform a sentence, for example, in C2. In B2, it would be, maybe you would need to transform just one thing. In C1, for example, in the transformation, you will need to transform like two things in a sentence in the keyword transformation. Like, for example, to, change the grammar and to use some kind of collocation based on the keyword. But in C2, it would be much more complex. You might even be asked to, think about three things that you will need to transform, and that's what's different. Okay, now they highlighted the importance of input. What does that mean? So when preparing for C1 and C2, input, and that is what I like stress all the time, and tell my students all the time, and I'm like boring, but yeah, I need to do it, is so the input is like reading and listening, being exposed to language. So exposure is number one thing when you're preparing for C-level exams. So reading and listening, you need to be exposed to language in order to notice different structures, to notice the vocabulary, to notice grammar. And you can't notice something, I don't know, an expression once. You have to be exposed to it multiple times in order to remember a word or an expression, and to use it, of course. And so input is number one. Thing number one. Thing number two is deliberate learning, which means we need to focus on how to organize that kind of input, and how we need to develop some strategies for learning. Strategies for learning and strategies for revisiting, which means revising and reviewing what we have already learned. Well, like if you just read something once and write it down and think you will remember it, just forget about it. It's not gonna happen. You have to revise and revise and revise and repeat, and that's the only way. And then use that language, and that's the only way you will memorize it. Okay, so deliberate learning, very important. Now, for example, in my course, in my master course, my students don't need to think about that because everything is ready for them. So they know what, like they get the material I send every Monday, and that's what they need to learn during the week. And then we meet on Saturday and we revise everything and practice everything, and it works like that. But if you are studying on your own, you need to develop some kind of a plan, because without a plan it's gonna be tricky. Okay, then one woman mentioned, one of those panelists mentioned the importance of a dictionary. At these levels, C1, C2, a dictionary is just something it is invaluable. Okay, it's so important, it's invaluable. And also thesaurus, which is like a dictionary of words which are similar, something like synonyms. Also a dictionary of collocations, that's also significant. But just, if you have, of course, you have like if you have your phone and if you have the internet, you have a dictionary, Cambridge Dictionary online, or Oxford, or Macmillan, or Longman. They are all excellent. I like to combine more than one, because none is perfect. So that's your incredible resource that you should use. Now, at these levels, C1 and C2, I'm just repeating it all the time because of the people who have just joined. At these advanced levels, it's not just about vocabulary. It is more about, how can I say it? It's like the precision. It's about lexical precision. You need to know in what situation, with what person, you can use what kind of a language. So if you're talking to a friend, you're not going to use some very formal words. And if you're talking to your, to a head teacher or to your professor at university, you're not going to use informal words. So lexical precision is something that is vital at this level, and not so much at lower levels like A and B1 or even B2, but at these C levels, lexical precision is a must. And it is something, one of the criteria that they are assessing in speaking and in writing. Okay, now if you are studying on your own, you should set a weekly goal. It is hard to track your progress if you are studying on your own, especially at these levels. If you are at a lower level, it's kind of easier to see how much you are progressing, you know, how much you're learning even on a daily basis. But when you are at these levels, it's harder to do that. So setting a goal, a daily or a weekly or a monthly goal is actually key. So in this way, you will be aware of how much you have actually learned. Now, also being brave and getting out of your safe space, experimenting with language, being innovative and using that high-level vocabulary and more complex grammar is something you should not be afraid of. And this is something that you are expected to do at this level. So just, be brave, experiment, and even in the exam, if you try to level up, try to use, some complex grammar structure or some complex, some more, let's say, advanced vocabulary or expressions. And even if you make a slight mistake, it's fine. So they're going to look favorably on that, because they will see that you're making effort and that you're there. Okay, so maybe you need a little bit of polishing up, but they will notice that you're working on your language and on your language skills. Okay, so at C levels, it's important what register you're using, with what person, in what situation. And yeah, I have already mentioned that. Then moving on. Yeah, they mentioned lots of, if anyone has a question, just write it down, not in the comments, but there is that question box. Just write it there, because it's much easier for me to find the questions later on. Okay, so I'm talking about the differences between C1 and C2 levels of English. Okay. Now, yeah, they have mentioned lots of different resources you can use when studying for example, C1 Advanced or C2 Proficiency. Okay, so of course they mentioned Write and Improve. It is useful, okay, for practicing. There are lots of different tasks there you can practice. You have immediate feedback. You can, they point out certain errors which you can, then you can just make corrections and then get another feedback and so on. It is not 100% accurate, not even 100%. It's not really accurate, because I know, because my students, when they use I tell them to use Write and Improve to improve on their answers, get the feedback for a few times and check what Write and Improve suggests, and then make some improvements and send the final version to me. I still find mistakes, and it's actually not that level. That, like, they say, okay, this piece of writing is like a C1 level, but actually there might be too many mistakes for that level, and the content also it's you know, it's a machine, it's like an algorithm, and it's not a person. Like, you know, you have to read, when you are grading writing, you have to look at the content, which means has the writer answer the question in the task. You have to look at the organization, you have to look at communicative achievements, so the appropriacy of language, is it formal enough, informal enough for that kind of reader, and the language, like grammar mistakes and vocabulary, and the appropriacy of vocabulary. Anyway, okay, so they mentioned Write and Improve. It is useful. And then there's also cambridgeenglish.org website, and then you go to Learning English, and there are free resources, and they're like learner essentials part, where you can find free online learning activities and exam information for you, and some self-study lesson plans, writing checklists, blah blah blah. Okay, so there are lots of resources you can use here. There's also Test and Train, which is not free. Let me just see. It's like, you pay 23 euros for 18 months access. It's okay. I mean, it's, I checked this free trial, and it's not bad. It's actually pretty good. It is training you for the exam, and it's actually pretty cheap for 18 months access, only 23 euros. Okay, so that's Test and Train. Also, it's an app developed by Cambridge University. Now, one other question they asked these experts on Cambridge English exams is like about the exams that universities in the UK accept when you are applying for university. And actually they said that all universities, like 99% of universities, recognize both C1 and C2. So you don't actually have to have C2 in order to be accepted at university in the UK, or not just the UK, but lots of other universities around the world. So they accept, usually universities accept either B2 or C1 for undergraduate course. So even B2 can be enough, but C1 is definitely enough for bachelor studies and for masters. Okay, now what else? Yeah, someone asked about the difference between IELTS and Cambridge English exams. The difference is that what they said, and this was this was like revelation for me. I mean, it's not a revelation, but actually it was such a good explanation. I'm sorry. I caught a cold, and like I've been feeling weird for 5 days. So the difference between IELTS and Cambridge English exams, according to them, is that IELTS is actually an exam that proves your level of English, and Cambridge exams, they improve the level. And I love it. I love that kind of explanation. So IELTS is there. It's an exam which proves your level, and with Cambridge English exams, you improve the level. Because with IELTS, everyone does the same test. So the person who is at B1 level, the person who is at the C1 or C2 level, everybody does the same test, okay? And then based on the score, you get the level. Like it could be B1 or B2, C1, or even C2. But when you are taking a Cambridge English exam, for example, C1 Advanced or C2 Proficiency or B2 First, the whole exam, the whole test is based on that level. Like all the questions are equally difficult. Whereas in IELTS, there are some questions which are like the lower level questions, which are easier, which will be really easy for you if you're C1 level, but that person who is at the B1 level will not be able to answer those C1 questions. So it's actually, it's proving the level of candidate. And for Cambridge English exams, as I said, so the whole test is at that level that you are trying to reach, let's say C1 level. Okay, now they also, somebody asked about the books, like what books are good for, the internet is weak, I don't know. Yeah, they ask like what kind of books, course books are best if you, let's say, want to take the exam in a short period of time, and that woman who works, who writes, who works in that team, one of the authors of the books, she said that compact, Cambridge English compact, is perfect if you are short of time and if you want to get ready for the exam in like, I don't know, a couple of months, let's say. And that complete, that's another course book, another course book, that it's more comprehensive and it's good for a longer preparation. And yeah, that's it, like compact and complete. That's what they mentioned. Then they talked about computer-based exams. Computer-based exams are still, let's say, something new, but they are gaining in popularity. And I will also like my students to try and take the exam, take this version, computer-based. Like the exam is completely the same. Everything is the same. It's just that you're taking it on the computer. When you're doing the listening part, you have your headphones, which is great. You can adjust the volume. When you're reading, you can adjust the text size, you can adjust the color, which is also great. When you're writing, there's the word count. You don't have to count the words. Of course, there's no answer sheet. You don't need to waste time transferring your answers. There's also I don't know, there are like some review buttons and some help and the timer, and you can highlight things while you're reading. So it's really convenient. There's also this tutorial that you can watch online on YouTube, and there's the FAQ on the website about computer-based exams. So I think, well, lots of my students who have taken it so far said that it's perfect. Like it's so easy and it's like idiot proof. You cannot not get it while you're there. Like even if you haven't taken a computer-based test before, like it's so easy to understand how it works. Just a second, there's a question. Well, of course, you can have, someone asked if they can have American accent. Of course, you can have whatever accent you want. Oh, in the exam, yeah, they are actually in the exam, in the speaking part, there are 5 criteria, and one of the criteria is pronunciation. Now, they are not assessing your accent. The pronunciation of sounds has to be clear. Your pronunciation of the way you stress the sentence has to be like natural. So you should stress the right words in a sentence. Your intonation has to be good, but it doesn't matter if you're speaking in a British accent or American accent or Australian or whichever, I don't know, Irish or South African. So whichever accent you speak, it's fine. It's just important that your pronunciation is clear, that you are intelligible, that you are easy to understand, and that you are pronouncing words well. So that, I hope that answers the question. Okay, so this was I have no idea how long it lasted, like, okay, 20 minutes, something like that. It was a short live. I just wanted to tell you what I learned today. And that's it. So if there are no more questions, I'm just gonna check the comments just in case. But there are no questions, I think. So, okay. Okay, no questions. So guys, thank you so much for being here and listening to this spontaneous, crazy. No, bye.